Throughout her life, Mary Anning May 21, 1799, March 9, 1847 the great fossil hunter lived in the little seaside town of Lyme Regis on the south coast of England. The simple serendipity of this place of birth, together with the gift of a penetrating eye, would bring her lasting fame. Mary began her career early. When she was only 10, her father, Richard Anning, died of the combined effects of tuberculosis and a serious fall. He had been a cabinet maker and carpenter who supplemented his income by collecting fossils, then known as curiosities, down on the beach and selling them to tourists. It was he who taught Mary how to find and clean fossils. In the History and Antiquities of the Borough of Lyme Regis and Charmouth, George Roberts 1834, page 288 tells how, after her father's death, Mary Anning went down one day to look for curiosities, the circumstances of the family not being good. She found an ammonite. An ammonite is shown on the left at the top of this page. Her age was now about 10. Something occurred as she was returning which decided at once her future destinies. A lady in the street, seeing the fossil in her hand, offered her half a crown for it, which she accepted, and from that moment fully determined to go down upon beach again. Her regular method of searching was to comb the beaches near Lyme for any fossiliferous rocks that might have fallen from the cliffs along the shore. This was the famous Blue Lias Formation, an abundant source of Jurassic ammonites and belemnites, and of the occasional fossil vertebrate as well. In 1811, in a block of fallen shale, her brother Joseph found a massive skull sea figure above that he mistook for a giant crocodile's. It lay mostly hidden beneath the sand. This would have been nothing exceptional, many fossil crocodiles were already known, but Mary went back to investigate, and over a period of months slowly picked away the rock to expose the remainder of the skeleton. She eventually revealed an entire ichthyosaur, the first complete specimen ever discovered. She was just 12 years old at the time. Mary Anning went on to make many other important discoveries, including several additional well-preserved ichthyosaur skeletons. From a scientific standpoint, however, perhaps her most important find was a largely intact plesiosaur, Plesiosaurus delichidaris, which she located in 1824. This grand fossil skeleton of Lyme Regis, with its incredible snake-like neck, was an immediate international sensation. Its illustration from the original description Coniber 1824 appears below. Up to the time, plesiosaurs had been poorly known, and Georges Cuvier, the celebrated French paleontologist and comparative anatomist, had rejected as fanciful English geologist William Coniber's initial assertions about the structure of this animal. But when he read Coniber's description of the intact specimen, he admitted he had been wrong and pronounced Anning's fossil a major discovery. Thereafter Anning entered into correspondence with Cuvier and sold him specimens on a regular basis. Adam Sedgwick at Cambridge University also bought many important specimens from Anning. Over the years, Anning discovered innumerable additional fossils of scientific value, but a few stand out. In 1828, she found the first pterosaur ever found outside continental Europe, Dimorphodon macrying sea figure, right, a strange winged creature with a huge head like a toucan's. The next year she discovered a fossil fish, Squalorhagis, picture a weird thing halfway between shark and ray. Then, in 1830, she found a new, large-headed plesiosaur. This she managed to sell for 200 guineas, £210, at that time, more than a year's income for many people. Indeed, she made so many discoveries that her finds inspired what was apparently the earliest attempt to reconstruct the appearance of the Mesozoic world. Doria Antiquaire Ancient Dorset, a painting based on Mary Anning's discoveries by Sir Henry Thomas de la Bache, seems to have been the first pictorial representation of a scene from deep time. In the days when she began her work, few Europeans had any notion of prehistory other than the biblical darkness that supposedly preceded the divine creation. What made her discoveries so important to the history of science, then, is that they provided evidence that forced scientists to imagine, like de la Bache, an ancient world very different from our own, and so to begin to think of evolution and how it might occur. Although she grew up in poverty and lacked a formal education, Anning taught herself so well that she was visited and consulted by many eminent scientists of the era. And in fact, she was the acknowledged expert in the field. Prussian naturalist Ludwig Leichhardt went so far as to dub her the Princess of Paleontology. In the end, she became the worthy Miss Mary Anning, whose name is already well known in every part of the world where persons read of the discoveries and progress of science. Roberts, 1834, page 284. The achievement of such fame and expertise was no small feat for a lower-class woman in early 19th century England. As Lady Harriet Sylvester (1753–1843) commented in her diary, "The extraordinary thing in this young woman is that by reading and application she has arrived to that degree of knowledge as to be in the habit of writing and talking with professors and other clever men on the subject, and they all acknowledge that she understands more of the science than anyone else in this kingdom." English paleontologist Edward Pigeon, 1830, page 377, gave her high accolades in what was then a man's world, praising the arduous and zealous exertions of this female fossilist in her laborious and sometimes dangerous pursuit. It is to her almost exclusively that our scientific countrymen, whose names have been already mentioned, owe the materials on which their labors and their fame are grounded, nor, we are persuaded, will they be unwilling to admit that they are indebted for some portion of their merited reputation to the labors of Mary Anning.